Lena Parker sat on the same park bench she'd called home for the past 7 months. Her clothes were worn but clean. She made sure of that. At 41, life had handed her challenges she never saw coming. The loss of her husband, medical debt that drained every dollar, and a series of misfortunes had left her here on Willow Avenue, with everything she owned packed neatly into 2 reusable grocery bags. But Lena still carried something that couldn't be taken away. She had eyes that still noticed people, not just faces passing by. And she had a heart that still felt deeply, even after the world had turned cold. It was a Wednesday afternoon in early October, the kind of day where the sun felt soft and the air hinted that something new was around the corner. Lena watched children playing on the playground nearby when she noticed little Ava Carter, maybe 4 years old, with curly blonde hair and pink sneakers that sparkled when she ran. Ava lived in the yellow apartment complex across the street. Lena often saw her mother, a young woman always in a hurry, lightly balancing work, errands, and motherhood. Sometimes Ava waved at Lena, and Lena always waved back. A small kindness, a thread of connection in a world that so easily looked away. That Wednesday began like any other, until around 3:15 p.m., when everything changed. The first thing Lena noticed was the smell, smoke. Not the kind that came from a barbecue or someone burning leaves, but thick, acrid smoke that made her stomach tighten. She looked up to see dark clouds billowing from the second floor of Ava's building. Flames flashed behind the curtains, spreading fast. People gathered on the street shouting, calling 911, pointing. But Lena's eyes locked on the window, and her heart froze. There was Ava, her tiny hands pressed against the glass, her tear-streaked face lit by orange firelight. She was screaming, but no sound reached the street below. Someone yelled that firefighters were 10 minutes away. 10 minutes! Lena knew the child wouldn't have 10 more seconds. Without thinking, she dropped her bags and ran. Her old sneakers slapped the pavement as she crossed the street. People shouted at her to stop, saying it was too dangerous, but she didn't hear them. All she saw was Ava. The front door was hot to the touch. Lena wrapped her sweater around her hand and pushed it open. Smoke poured out thick and blinding. She dropped low, remembering from long ago that the clean air stayed close to the floor. Coughing, she crawled up the stairs. The heat was unbearable, each breath like swallowing fire. The apartment door was half open, flames licking the walls. "Ava," she called out. A faint sob answered. Lena wrapped her sweater around her face and moved through the haze, following the sound. She found Ava crouched in the corner of her bedroom, clutching a stuffed bunny, shaking and frozen in fear. Lena scooped her up, holding her close. "It's okay, sweetheart," she whispered. "Close your eyes. I've got you." Getting out was harder. The hallway they'd come through was now engulfed in flames. Lena's mind raced. There was a back stairwell she'd noticed before, used mostly for storage. Their only way out. With Ava in her arms, Lena pushed through the smoke, feeling the heat sting her arms and back. The little girl's stuffed bunny slipped from her hands, but there was no turning back. Step by step, breath by breath, Lena fought her way through the smoke until finally, fresh air. They burst out the back door just as sirens filled the air. Lena collapsed on the grass behind the building. Ava still in her arms, both of them coughing but alive. Paramedics rushed over. Someone draped a blanket around her shoulders. Moments later, Ava's mother arrived, falling to her knees and wrapping her daughter in tears and gratitude. Lena was treated for burns and smoke inhalation. The hospital wanted her to stay overnight, but she refused. She had no insurance, no money, no home, just a quiet wish to return to her bench unnoticed. By the next morning, that bench was surrounded by news vans. The story had spread. Homeless woman saves child from fire. Reporters wanted interviews, cameras wanted her face, but Lena slipped away. She hadn't run into that fire for fame. She'd done it because she couldn't stand by and do nothing. 3 days later, Lena sat in a small park across town, trying to stay out of sight. A black SUV pulled up, and a tall man in a navy suit stepped out. He looked around until his eyes landed on her. He walked over slowly, carrying the calm confidence of someone who'd lived a lot of life. "Lena Parker?" he asked. She nodded, cautious. "My name's Robert Carter. Ava is my granddaughter." Lena's breath caught. Now she could see the resemblance, the same eyes. Robert sat beside her, his voice steady but thick with emotion. "I've been looking for you for 3 days. My daughter told me everything. How you ran into that fire when everyone else froze. You saved Ava's life." Lena looked down at her bandaged hands. "Anyone would have done it," Robert shook his head. "But they didn't, you did. And Ava asks about you every day. She wants to thank the angel who saved her." He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "I'm not here to pay you off. I'm here to offer you a chance. I own a company, Carter Homes. We build affordable housing for families starting over. I could use someone with your compassion to help run our community outreach program. It comes with housing, a salary, benefits, and a new beginning." Lena was speechless. Robert smiled softly. "I've learned something over the years. True wealth isn't about money. It's about character, about doing the right thing when no one's watching. You have that, Lena, more than most people ever will." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll come meet Ava tomorrow," Robert said gently. "Say you'll let us help you start again. You gave our family the greatest gift imaginable. Let us give you one too." Lena thought of the fire, of the moment she chose to run toward danger instead of away. Maybe this was life's way of lighting a new path for her, one built on the same courage that had carried her through the smoke. "Okay," she whispered. Robert smiled, and in his eyes she saw what she'd seen in Ava's: hope, gratitude, and belief that kindness still mattered. 6 months later, Lena had her own apartment, a job she loved, and weekly dinners with the Carter family. Ava called her Aunt Lena and told anyone who'd listen about the day her angel saved her life. Lena learned that sometimes you have to walk through fire, literally or figuratively, to find your way home, and that even the smallest act of bravery can change everything, because in the end we're all just people doing our best. And when we choose kindness, when we choose to see each other as human beings worth saving, that's when real miracles happen. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories of hope and humanity. Tell us in the comments about a time someone showed you unexpected kindness.